Well, hi there. My name is John Ryeland and I'm the Director of the Christian Healing Mission. And welcome to this session of our online training programme. Now, it doesn't matter if you haven't seen any of the others. It's meant to be a kind of a rolling programme you can join whenever you want to. And the idea behind this is that we really try and help you with this ministry that is such a glorious ministry, but help you as you try and minister to those in the local church so you can minister in the best way you possibly can. Now, these sessions take different formats, and sometimes it'll be me giving a talk, but on occasions what we're going to do is interview somebody who's really a kind of an expert in their field. And in this session what we're talking about is listening. And I'm thrilled that the person going to help us with this is a wonderful guy. He's the Reverend Dr. Russ Parker. Now, when I first joined the mission years ago, Russ was so helpful to me, and it's been such a privilege getting to know him over these years. Currently, what Russ is doing is working in the whole area of healing wounded churches. But before that, he was the director of the Acorn Christian Healing Foundation. And he really pioneered much of their work in this field of listening. So when I was thinking about this subject, he was the obvious person to kind of interview for this. I've heard many talks on listening, and some of them leave me a bit worried because there's an implication in it that Jesus was a great listener. The idea being that he sat down and really listened to people at length. If you read the gospel accounts of Jesus, there's no real evidence for that sort of listening going on. I suppose I can understand his ministry of listening in quite a different way. First of all, it's all about his engagement with us. Now, that story of Jairus in Mark chapter 5. This is a guy, and he comes to Jesus and he begs him, please, will you come and heal my daughter? She's dying. And remember, she was 12 years old and dying. And Jesus goes off to minister to her. And then on his way there, something fascinating happens. This woman comes through the crowd and deliberately touches him. And she's in great need. She's been suffering from bleeding herself for 12 years. And she really grabs his attention. And he turns around and he engages with her fully. Now, actually, he could have decided to sort of go off with what he was doing and come back to her after a while, but he doesn't. He meets with her there and then. He engages with her. He gives her his full attention at that moment. And that's, I think, what his listening is all about. It's his engagement with all of us. You know, Jesus utterly entered into the human experience, engaging with all those things that are such common experiences for us. That's his listening. So, what about our ministry of listening? What about us listening to others? What does that mean? How can we listen well? Well, these are some of the things that Russ is going to help us with. I hope you enjoy it. Russ, when you think about your contribution to the healing ministry, one of the things that you're so well known for is this whole resource of the ministry of listening within the healing ministry.
Yeah.
Why is listening so important to this ministry of healing?
I think listening is at the heart of who God is. When you think, John, every prayer you pray on the assumption, the correct assumption, that somebody's listening. Why bother otherwise? So the fact that God listens to us enables us to get out our heart's desires, our heart's joys, our heart's pains. And prayer, of course, is the fuel of our integrity and growth. Secondly, I think listening is at the heart of Jesus' capacity to be the amazing healer that he is. The way he just takes what people say. One of the great healing prayers for me is right at the end of Mark chapter 1, where you have the leper standing just a way off there, screaming his guts out, saying to Jesus, if you are willing, not able, if you are willing to heal me, you can. And Jesus says, I am willing, be clean. And I've always been fascinated by that prayer of Jesus. It's almost identical to the words of the guy doing the screaming. And you have to ask yourself, had Jesus run out of imagination that day? Was he running short on good ideas for praying? His normal style is, be healed. He likes short prayers. And here you find he takes the words of the supplicant and just slightly rejigs them and makes it his prayer. And I thought, why do that? And on the positive side, I think he's saying to himself, who listens to lepers? He did say, if you're willing, not if you're able. What's all that about? Do you care about people like me? And so when you hear your own words coming back to you, it tells you a few things. It tells you you've been heard. And at least once in every person's lifetime, we need to tell our story and know we've been heard. It's not enough to tell it. You've got to know you've been heard. The two being put together make a healing cataclysmic moment. And so imagine the leper feeling, you heard me. You bothered to take seriously what I have to say. I'm not an idiot, am I? So it gives them that sense of honouring. It gives them the sense of rehumanizing him. So you're not just a leper who should stay at a distance. You're a human being. And you have worth because your words are worth saying.
It's interesting because when we think about the process of listening, we can often make the assumption it's a long haul. This is going to be hours of listening. In that instance, where you're saying Jesus listened profoundly, it's actually happened in a very short period of time.
Very powerful.
So listening doesn't mean a 3-hour commitment to somebody.
No way. There's appointment listening, if you like, where people are coming with a Catherine Cookson novel to share, and you want to give them time and consideration. But in terms of the healing ministry, in a public service of some kind, no. But do you know what happens, John, when you know you've been heard? You open.
Yes.
There's some ways you open in a deeper place than the beginning place that you were in. So I've always taught, use this simple listening skill, so that when someone comes up for prayer and you say to them, what is it you want God to do for you? And they say, my mother's dying and I feel helpless. Your mum's dying. You feel helpless. And they might go, yeah. And that yeah is opening. And then you get in and pray for exactly what they've asked.
Because they know they've been listened to, even for a short period of time, they know they've been listened to.
Yeah, and it's like opening up at a depth. Listening does that.
Why, you say it's something you teach.
Yeah.
Why do you think, we need teaching to listen? Somebody once said we've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. You'd think we'd use that proportion, but
we don't.
We're not good listeners. Why aren't we good listeners?
I think there's a whole load of reasons for that, John. I think, and this is partly a clergy or leadership problem, we think we know the answer before they finish talking. I love Simon and Garfunkel's better way of putting it in their tremendous song, The Sound of Silence. It's people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening. So speaking isn't just putting words together, it's focused intention, isn't it? And listening isn't just traffic passing through your head as you put it in one ear and out the other. Listening is paying full regard, full attention, even if you haven't a clue what the solution is. Often knowing you are heard opens you up to God's grace more powerfully than the rather too quick prescriptions of the healers saying, you need this, you need that.
And that's what we love to do in this ministry. We love to think we've got the answer, and so we don't actually listen for the question, first of all. You said one thing you encourage folks to do is in a very simple way, just repeat back what's been said.
In a summarised way, yes.
What other steps can we take to become good listeners?
Well, I think first of all you have to train yourself to listen to yourself more than we often do. Often the reason we shove out advice, John, and do all this stuff is because we have an inner panic button. I've got to have the answers. They're depending on me. I'm the person doing the praying, so they're talking about something that bothers me because I've got this problem, but they mustn't see it.
Yes.
And so we're all doing this stuff, but if we stopped and trained ourselves to listen to ourselves.
So if we're doing that, we're not listening to them, are we? Because we're so caught up in our internal stuff, yes.
So it's not about get rid of the stuff when it comes up, it's park it. Yes. Tell yourself, Like if you came to me some years ago and said, my dad has no time for me, I'd be going down my high street. And I'd find it hard to listen to you, John. In fact, part of me is wishing you'd shut up. Because I realise I got stuff here.
Yes.
But what I learned to do is, I got to do some work on this. Because I'm being struck. But God, help me just to leave it there. Listen to John.
Yes.
His story's not my story. I'm not going to project on you how I handled my stuff. How I got healed, maybe. You're unique, John.
Yes.
And I don't have the solutions necessary, but I'll give you my full attention. And that's very empowering.
We do often jump in with our story, don't we? That's how, reminds you what God did to me. This is what he wants to do to you. And of course it may
I know
not
just
be.
what you mean.
Yes. Well, of course you don't.
You know, you want to lay hands on their throats. Because it's just assuming you are a statistic.
Yes.
And you're not. And you may know what they mean. But what help is it for you to tell them that?
Right. So we listen to ourselves. We hear that.
In case there's filters
Yes.
that get in the way of us listening accurately.
Yes.
Okay, so we just say, Lord, help me just to park that. Another way is we listen to God. I always teach people, listen, because you get a word of prophetic insight, what makes you know you've got to share it the moment you get it? Sometimes you sit on this stuff until the timing's right. That's called a word of knowledge. And so just because God shows you something, listen to it as you listen to the person. Don't jump in and say, do you know what, as you were talking, God showed me this, aren't I brilliant? And this is the answer. It might be, why are you showing me this? And God might be saying, when they get to this piece, this is the piece I want you to really focus on for prayer. So we listen to God for timing of insights he might give. So that's personal disciplines, okay? Process disciplines of, okay, what is this listening you're going on about if it's not just hearing people? Well, it's listening with focused intent, but it's about facilitation. And so you would periodically, not like a parrot at every moment, but you would just think, maybe now's the moment to summarize what they've told me. Paying particular attention to any emotional or feeling words, because that's where their emotional postal address lies. So I might just say, so can I just check out with you where we've got so far? And I'll do that little mini summary. The one thing you realise is the one thing you don't do when you're talking to somebody is listening to what you're actually saying. Try it sometime. And so when you say, so John, you've told me this and the feelings were this, they look and go, did I say that? And it's the opportunity to take ownership.
Yes.
That is how I feel. Or they might say, actually, it's more serious than feeling angry. I feel murderous, say.
Yes.
So you're giving them a space to
listen to themselves.
It's like looking in a mirror. They call
Yes.
it mirroring, some people do. It's like showing that you're not inventing stuff. You're not throwing in your own stuff as if you're some great see-through prophet. You just give them exactly what they've said. No addition, no spin. Just, this is what you told me. And they go, yeah. And you can see them going to a deeper place, making connections. That's when you keep your mouth closed and your heart and spirit open. And they might want to say, and they go a bit deeper.
Yes.
So you follow. And what happens is this. People start, use the analogy of a river. They start with a wide river. I've got so many things on my mind. But when you do that summary and reflecting back, they go, I'll choose that bit you've just said to me. And that bit when you do it again. And you know, the narrower the river, the higher the speed it runs. Because the energy is there.
Yes.
We're really getting in it now. You know, when it's this wide, you're feeling overwhelmed by the stuff, and so you throw in your suggestions and they just sink out of sight. But when we get into this, you really feel we're getting close to this stuff. We're up close and personal. And all I'm doing is giving you what you've given me. And then they might suddenly get right into it. And so the second piece of facilitation, process listening. First one, summarizing, okay. Second one, and we've learned this after years of trying it out. The second one is, okay, you've told me these three things. What would you say feels like the most important out of them three? We can look at the others another time, because we haven't got all the time today. But what would you say is the one that feels the strongest, that bothers you the most, that's right there out of them 3 or whatever it is. And you have to trust the integrity of the person. If you don't bother listening to them, period. What's the point? But if they get into the heart of it and say, well, out of them, it's this. Okay, let's look at that one a bit further. And in we get. The listening process, if it's more than being in a service of healing, you're having a private session with the person. Never more than 50 minutes, by the way, in total, is you summarise periodically, including their emotional words. So important you do that. As best you can. Not like on the generation game where you've got to remember everything going whizzing by under Bruce Forsyth's nose. But what's the most important pieces and feeling words?
So on that, I mean, one of the things is, how do you remember what they've said to summarise? But I suppose you're not trying to remember, it's what you've observed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will not remember everything. So I don't bother myself thinking, have I missed something out? If I've missed something important, they will tell me.
Yes.
And I don't mind being put in
Yes.
the light by them at all.
But it's what you've observed.
Yeah, what I observe. And if they use particularly emotional terminology, all emotions are loaded.
Yes.
Either with joyfulness or the opposite, but it's energy. Emotions are energy.
So you're summarising the whole process here. That was the first. You summarise.
Secondly, it's okay. You've told me this after we've done this maybe once or twice. What's the most important now? We've identified so many things in the time we've got. They pick one, we explore it further, and we tend to come to a conclusion by asking the third thing. Okay, so we've looked at this. This is really important to you. We've explored it a bit. What action are you going to take? What are you going to do? So it's focused. I'm not telling them.
Yes.
I'm not prescribing. I'm empowering. And if you empower someone, they'll live better than if you take them over and give them all the reasons and prescriptions. It's like they've become your puppet.
Yes.
And they'll give you that privilege, and they'll keep coming back. Saying, I tried that. It didn't quite work. What's the next thing I should do? And you end up thinking, why did I get myself into this situation? Well, the answer is because you badly managed it. That's why you took possession of it. Empower them by saying, what action are you going to take? And that's where the praying comes in.
Yes.
Where we ask God, Lord, give them wisdom, give them guidance, give them energy, give them discernment of how to do this action well. I was in the Gallerus Oratory, which is the oldest continuously used stone church building in the world, and it's in Ireland, of course. It's got no altar, just like an upturned boat shape. And I'm in there with these pilgrims I was doing. And I said, now, an oratory is a place where you come to hear God rather than talk. So can we have a minute's silence and just see if God speaks? And there were a couple standing in there when we got in. The husband walked out, but the wife stayed. So we had this quiet minute. Nobody else came in, thankfully. At the end of the time, I turned to my crew and said, did you hear anything that you would like to share? And this woman straight away said, oh yes. And I said, did you, love? Yes, she said, I did. I said, do you want to share what you heard? She said, I do. She said, I heard God saying it's safe now. I said, it's safe now. That was summarising and reflecting back if you didn't notice. So it's safe now. Oh, she said, I got assaulted by the pastor in our church for years, starting in Sunday school. Ruined me. And the fact that I'm married to the good man I've got out there is a miracle to me. And he supported me. And in my, she's really in full flow. And she said, but there's just, I have never said it to myself, she said, until this moment in time. And I said, so you have been assaulted by, I just did a little sort of summary. She said, yes, my husband has been marvellous. She just picked that piece of the segment. She said, excuse me. And she goes out and he comes in all sheepish like. She said, I've been telling these people. They seem to know all about me.
Yes.
And I just said, your wife has just been sharing some of her story. And he said, she's gorgeous. I said, she's gorgeous, is she? Oh, yes. And he started talking about his stuff. And in the end, my American friends who are with me, who are amazing people in the healing ministry in Charleston area, they said, in the light of what you shared, and the fact that you've said that God said to you today, it's safe now. Would that mean it's safe to come back to a church and open yourself up and be a part of it? Oh, yes, she said, you're absolutely right. can we pray that as you take this action, that God will be a witness to you every step of the way? And here's my email address, because they were Americans too, whatever. And so we gathered around in this oratory with birds flying in to feed their young, you know, it's one of the, because there's no door, and there is a window. And we prayed with this woman, and off she goes. And the crew turned to me and said, what was that listening you were doing? That you kind of put pieces together, they'd never seen it, and it came so naturally. And I said, try it sometime.
Yes.
You know, don't make a song and dance of it. Just, if you feel this is a God opportunity and you're willing to stick with a person, a total stranger, then just say, so, whatever, and they open up, because something inside of them says, I can tell my story here. And that's always got to be healing.
Russ, thank you so much indeed.
My pleasure, John.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It seems to me that what Russ was sharing was 3 stages in this listening process. You're reflecting a person's words back to them, letting them choose what they want to address first, and letting them choose how they want to address it. And what I love about that, what really resonates with me, is that sense of empowering people to make their own choices, to bring what they want to God. You know, I often get worried when this ministry of healing becomes more about, if you like, prime ministers putting their own agenda onto the person rather than letting them bring what they want to God. You know, because we kind of assume that we know what a person really wants or what they really need, and so we try and kind of force that along the way. And really, I think the whole approach of CHM, the Christian Healing Mission, is about letting people bring their own needs to Jesus without imposing anything of our own agenda upon them. Well, I hope you found that helpful. Let's practice that listening that Russ was talking about. Let's reflect people's words back to them. Let's show them we have heard and we do care about what they say. And let's really be a blessing to people. Thank you.